Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and the Avengers, the new Avengers, issue number 5. All right, I just realized I missed issue number 4 because I'm reading this first issue or this issue in the beginning, and I'm like, what the heck how did they get here? What's going on? And apparently an issue slipped past me and I didn't even realize it. So will I go back and read it? Probably not. I'm not going to go and find it. I don't know. Maybe if it's in the like super discount bin, I guess, but that almost never happens. Anyway, this was still good, and it's actually a good thing that I missed the previous issue. Why? Because it shows that you can miss an issue of this and still keep on going. This is a very upbeat comic book, right? Look, they're fighting villains that are just goofy as all heck, and the characters themselves are acting goofy as all heck. Yeah. But that being the case, as long as you can just accept that, it's not a bad comic book, right? Let's get to about who made the book. We'll move on from there, all right? So the writer is Sam Humphries. The artist is Tiago Palma. Color art by Fabi Marquez and Matt Mila. And VC's Joe Sabino on letters. Cover art, Stefan Segovia and Rain Barreto. The Avengers were created by Stan Lee and Jack frickin' Kirby, baby. So, this, I don't know. What do you say about this? There's a question of morality in this book towards the almost very end, and they're the villains are evil, but they're how do you explain this? Look at all the bad things that have happened so far in the series, right? This Illuminati, they're going around, they're killing people. They go and they visit, or they go and they try to stop Reed Richards, right? This evil version of Aurora Boris, right? That's his name in this evil version of Richards. And I don't know if this one's ever going to be on a council of Reeds, but leave it to Humphreys, and he already is. So when they get there, they see really bad things happen. A bunch of people are twisted, they're on fire. There's some really sad stuff, like there's a baby that's invisible and can't find its mom. There is this poor guy who's twisted, and like his body is just all sorts of twisted, and he says, do you think I could be a superhero? And it's like there's some really sad stuff going on. There's stuff that Aurora Boris actually did to these people, right? And unfortunately, you can't really take too much of it seriously. Reed Richards is not Reed, but Aurora Boris is killing all these people. He's absorbing them into himself to make himself more powerful, and he's sending cosmic rays to, make them even worse. And the whole time, the entire team, nobody's feeling bad for any of these people. Like there's a complete lack of humanity in these characters. And that's not the way I'm used to reading my comic books. This idea that they're just ruthlessly, there's no sympathy for any of these people. And then here's Aurora Boris towards the end, and he's saying, wait, we were kept prisoner, isolated in test tubes or whatever by the Jackal for years. I have a right to live. There's still a moral code. I'm still a human, and all this stuff. And it's like, and of course these new Avengers, they don't care. They're laughing as they're killing them and making jokes, while they're kicking him in the face. And also, it's like, this is really twisted. There's some things in here that are funny, or, on a completely absurd level. Like Bucky's secret hideout in the New Mexico desert is just underneath a water tower, completely in the open, exposed. I mean, right off of a military base, I'm sure. Like that's where the Hulk was born. There's a military base there, right? All that stuff. Stuff like that you could just laugh at and be like, okay, cool, ha 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 ha. But then you just see some of the stuff in here. Guys, I don't know, man. Like, I I try. I get it. If this is actually how Laura Kinney is, okay, I'm kind of sort of okay with it. She's absurd. Sitting there hanging out with, like, all of a sudden she's friends with Namor now, and they're talking about, yeah, Silver Surfer isn't so tough, and she's like, yeah, I'd take a crack at him, and it's like Silver Surfer would obliterate her, and he would obliterate freaking Namor also. But Namor's not talking about taking him on directly. He's like, threaten anything he holds dear and he'll fold like a baby. It's like, okay, that's Namor, right? I will win by finding out how to win. If I can't just beat you one on one, then I'm going to find a way to beat you. Laura's just, I'll fight anything. And that's cool. It's honestly, it's exactly what her imitation namesake is. Wolverines are tough as nails, but I mean, they'll go after a bear. They'll go after an elephant. I saw a video recently where Wolverine keeps on trying to attack an elephant or a honey badger, whatever it was that was trying to attack this elephant. And I'm just like, bro, this thing just got stomped several times. And instead of trying to run off and lick its wounds and its broken bones, it's still trying to limp after and crawl after this elephant. Like, oof. What absolute absurdity. If that's the way she's written, cool. If that's just the way Sam Humphries made her, I guess it kind of makes more sense. Carnage in here does not really look like Carnage. Tiago Palma, I shouldn't say that. Eddie Brock doesn't look like Eddie Brock. He's sitting there with glasses on. He's super skinny. He's like, yeah, man, hey, what's going on? And there's some things going on in the background. Yeah, we're going to kill Namor first. And then Clea's like, oh, yeah, we're going to, like adding talking to yourself. That doesn't make you a little less creepy or weird or whatever. And then the Carnage symbiote says, she's second. Little things like that. Okay, things like that are fun. But bringing up things like the humanity of a killer that's not something I think should be written by somebody like Humphreys. I wonder about this guy. I really do. Like, he's triggering my innate sense of praying for my enemies. That sort of a thing, Like, I don't want to sit there and nuke my enemies like a lot of people do. I pray for them, and I don't think that Sam Humphries is my enemy, but like, he's triggering that stuff inside of me, right? Like, it says it puts into question his humanity as far as I'm concerned, where he's writing heroes who are literally kicking a villain in the face while he's talking about, these are the bad things that happened to me and this is the reason why I'm doing things. And it's not like they're like, there was not one single time where they were, talking about, we have to save these people. You could argue it's implied, but I think the story is written the way it's written. This sense of people are bad, therefore they need to be killed, is not good for a society. And I don't mean to get preachy, but you look at what's happening in the world today. I'm sorry, like, look, guys, this is just, you take the temperature, you take the pulse of the world as it is. I mean, there were just 4 big attacks earlier this week, and this book comes out. It's not delayed. It's not said, hey guys, let's let's have a different story here. Maybe this book is poorly timed at the very least. That's what I'm gonna say. It's very poorly timed, and arguably I could just leave it there, but I will add on this one caveat. Artists in general means a lot of writers also, right? Fiction writers, a lot of people in the arts, they tend to skew very, very hard left. And I'm gonna try and just leave it there. But Marvel has got about a 5-year, very recent history of making very hard arguments for the left and making a lot of us shy away from some of those stories. And this seems to be one of those stories. And maybe it's not at all. Maybe I'm just reading into it too much. But like, this is not an assumption, it's a presumption, meaning an assumption that is based off of a lot of foreknowledge, based off of a lot of history, based off of a status quo. Yeah. So, not an assumption, but like, we've been here before. And this looks a lot like what we hoped had been left behind. I'm not here to make a thing political. What I am here to say is, right now, stories where heroes are all just anti-heroes and they're gleefully kicking a villain in his face as he's talking about why he's like this, with no concern whatsoever for all the victims that this villain has been hurting and tried to do worse to. No sympathy, nothing. Yeah, that's an interesting choice to make when writing a comic book, especially when it's for something like Marvel. And yet I'm looking at editors here who are like, yeah, this looks like a good comic. We're going to release this. Good job. And paid people for it. I have questions, but I'll talk to you guys later. Like the video and watch an ad. Professor Bell, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.